at the moment, my client connector is connected to my Zscaler Internet Access private service edge, and I'm on the trusted network. And so if I browse out to the internet and I go to ipchicken.com, it sees my public IP address as 81.78.74.17. Come over here, let's turn the Wi-Fi off. We'll turn it back on again. And we'll connect to my phone so I get a hotspot IP address which is not on my network. If I open up the Zscaler client connector, we can see now it's connected to the public service edge. Private access is connected, talking to the public service edge. And so if I refresh this page for ipchicken, you see that it sees my IP address as 165.225.16.121, which is a Zscaler public IP address of one of our data centers in the UK. So if I'm accessing a website that needs to apply policy based on my source IP, of course now it's going to see the Zscaler IP address, which is a multi-tenant environment. So let's think about how we pass traffic through the Zscaler Internet Access Service Edge, apply all of the inspection capabilities, but then pass from the Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange back to a app connector in Zscaler Private Access to give me that source IP that I need to access that service. So let's start with private access, and we'll come into application segments, and we'll go ahead and we'll add an application segment, and we'll call it ipchicken, and we'll go star.ipchicken.com, and it's a website, so it's port 80. We'll also add in port 443 because that's all we need. Use client forwarding policy to control that, and everything else is the default. We'll add a segment group. Well, we'll use a default segment group here. It's a browser, so that'll be fine. We'll select the server group of DC Discovery because we're going to send it through our app connector in the data center, and we'll click Save. And I don't need to worry about any access policy, so we'll cancel that, and we'll come across to our client forwarding policy, and I'm going to add a client forwarding policy rule because I don't want my client to get this, so we'll call it ipchicken, and we'll say bypass EPA for the app segment, and the application segment is called ipchicken. And the reason we bypass this from the client is we don't want the Zscaler client to know about this segment. We want the client connector to think it's still a public IP or public FQDN, send it to Zscaler Internet Access, and Zscaler Internet Access is going to handle the forwarding through the service edge for private access to the app connector, and the app connector is going to give us the synthetic IP. So at this point, everything's still working as before, still going to Zscaler Internet Access. We've just made the definition in private access. Private access isn't doing any interception of this because of that client forwarding policy. We need to edit that application segment. Here's our ipchicken. We'll click Edit on this. We'll click Next. And we want to enable it for Source IP Anchor. And so enabling it for Source IP Anchor means that it's available for the Internet Access platform to apply policy on. So we come across to the Zscaler Internet Access portal here, and we'll go Administration, Zscaler Private Access, and we can add a gateway for Zscaler Private Access. So the server group we select is DC Discovery, and we see this application segment ipchicken's being created, and we'll call this ipchicken, and we'll click Save. So now we've created a definition for that ipchicken application segment to pass it through the server group for DC Discovery, which selects that app connector for Zscaler Private Access. So now what we need to do is create a policy. So we come to Policy, Forwarding Control. We'll add a forwarding rule. Rule 1, admin rank 7. Forwarding rule name is called ipchicken. It's enabled. Forwarding method is ZPA. And then we can just say destination, the application segment is ipchicken, and forward to the gateway that we just defined called ipchicken. Click Save. And we click Activate. What we'll do is we'll close down this tab because we want to get a new DNS entry for it. We'll go to ipchicken.com and we can see that it's now passing with my source IP address of 81.78.74.17. We can then come into the analytics and we can go Web Insights, add a filter, URL search, host, contains chicken, iFilters, and we can see that the traffic flowed through Zscaler Internet Access because we did all of the filtering here. And if we scroll across to the right, let's do client IP information, server IP, client external IP. This is my IP address from the tethered network. At this point it didn't hit any forwarding rules. Apply the last 2 minutes and click apply. And here we can see the rules. It triggered on the ZPA IP chicken. Even though my public IP was still 148 and 104, being the server IP address, it then tunneled it using the ZPA forwarding mechanism through the IP chicken forwarding rule to egress out through my app connector with this IP address.